One of the things we haven't really said is what is the Smart Manufacturing Leadership Coalition, but we're about 40 institutions or 40 institutions or agencies at this point, but roughly half of them are industry. And of that half, about 2/3 are practitioner and another third is provider, if you will. So, a pretty good mix. So what we will, or at least what I would like to start off with is literally this industry poll. So our starting point when I put this kind of slide up is the following, and I'll just go these very quickly and give you a little bit more as we dive in. One is we're talking with Alcoa. Alcoa is looking to make bigger decisions across one of their metal fabrication plants, and they're spending 90% of the time just simply gathering the data. 5% of the time they can make a decision, but it's too late. So how do you deal with that? Praxair is a hydrogen gas supplier. They see 20% energy efficiency out of their furnaces. These are large-scale furnaces, but the use of the modeling has not been reachable because the payback to implement that modeling has just not been sufficient to break through the thresholds on their payback decisions. General Dynamics, we've been working with them, Scranton Metals Casing Facility. They are an Energy Star facility already, so all kinds of controls, all kinds of investment in energy, but they actually see 20 to 30% more energy efficiency if they can manage across their forging, their heat treatment, and their CNC machines, because they actually have a lot of rejects with respect to in the machining, because the material properties coming through the heat treatment and forging are not managed as well as they can. So how can we think about a line operation? Just to bring this to California, down in Southern California, we're spending a great deal of time with our MEP program. The Manufacturing Extension Program. We have a situation with tens of thousands of suppliers in the Southern California area that are heavily aimed towards the defense industry. Defense spending is declining, and they're actually looking for mechanisms to use technology to look for growth opportunities, ways to change their products into new directions. And one last one I'll mention is General Mills makes Cheerios. They have thousands of suppliers. The input product is highly variable. If they can get information on that input product before it arrives at the plant site, there's actually huge amounts of saving in getting ready for that product that can be implemented, and they are looking for ways to work with the supply chain in that way. So very, very quickly, just five quick examples, and I'll dig into a couple of these a little bit more. One of the things that's been startling, it's no longer startling, but it was at the time, is that this industry poll back in 2007 actually led to the conclusion that what is needed is infrastructure for manufacturing, infrastructure that will help manufacturing overall. So we got involved as a result of that consensus or that industry poll around what we call the Smart Manufacturing Platform. And so that actually forms the basis for the discussions that we're talking about today. But everyone talks about modeling and analytics and big data and all these sorts of things. What I want to talk about is the infrastructure that's needed to support those. So very quickly, I mentioned Praxair. Praxair runs these furnaces. Not only would they like to have the modeling applied to this furnace, but they run 21 of these furnaces around the US and another 20 globally. If they could replicate that modeling, if they could get the incentives in the right place to do the modeling in one place, if they can replicate that modeling, there's actually a huge savings to take that forward. So this is not only about a particular individual application, it's about the replication of that application. General Dynamics already mentioned this one, but it is, as I was mentioning, it's going across the heating and forging, cutting and machining, line operation, but it very much goes into Mark's territory, which is how does smart manufacturing interface with the smart grid. So the management of power, the management of the quality of that power, become very, very important. And I'll just dive through these very, very quickly. As I mentioned, General Mills has a very smart factory up in Minnesota right now. They've spent tens of millions putting all kinds of smart things into their factory, and they're still missing one big ingredient that they can't, that was a misnomer. I shouldn't use ingredient for Cheerios. Bad use of terms, right? They're missing one ingredient, which is if they had information from the supply chain, which is indicated over the left, if they had information on that certificate of analysis, on the certification of the protocols that were used to produce that product. If they had those before it got to the plant, there's a huge amount of savings. They have a very extensive process where they analyze the particular ingredients. They say, what product do I need to make? Can I have the right mixture? Do I have the right equipment ready to go? And there's a huge amount of planning. If I can get that done before the product gets here, or even arrange for the shipping in different ways, there's huge savings. And this is not just about General Mills. This actually helps the suppliers as well. And oh, by the way, they have this little thing called FDA tracking and traceability. If you can get that information sharing, it helps the process side of it, but it also helps the tracking and traceability, which is now a regulation that does need to be dealt with. I'll come back to this chart a little bit because this actually represents whether it's a small company, a medium company, or a large company, these ingredients are all the same. There's a manufacturer, there's something getting supplied that manufacturer, there's something being distributed. It could be distributed to another customer, which could be another manufacturer or a frontline customer, but all these ingredients are the same, and we've seen the pattern repeating multiple times. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the business side that we've been seeing with our discussions across these kinds of problems. So what I'm now doing is generalizing. The left-hand side was qualitative, but multiple companies, multiple industries looking at what the possibilities are. I'll just let you scan these. They're pretty much self-explanatory. But on the right-hand side, I'd like to just dig in a little bit. What are the barriers? What's been the problem? The first of all, over and over again, we're seeing the ROI constraints. So that's what the upper right-hand corner is looking at. This is why we got involved with the smart manufacturing platform. Number one, I'll just kind of point at this one up here. We are seeing over and over again that the cost of implementing an IT system, even an individual system, 70% of that cost is just infrastructure, 30% goes to the real value add from that infrastructure. And we've done that analysis across a couple of different industries. We are seeing that for this to fall back into these threshold levels for payback analyses, we pretty much have to drop the IT